This happened to be a coincidence.
There is no way this was a coincidence. This was widely publicized that the governor and many of our other elected officials were having a press conference here to talk about redistricting, and they decided they were going to come and thumb their nose in front of the governor's face. Why would you do that? That is unbelievably disrespectful. It's a provocative act. They're talking about disorder in Los Angeles, and they are the source of the disorder in Los Angeles right now. This is just completely unacceptable. This is a administration, this is a Customs and Border Patrol that has gone amok. This absolutely has to stop. There was no danger here. There was no need to detain anyone here. And there was certainly no need to have a provocative act right here where the governor is having a press conference.
Wake to the world. I was asleep before. That's how we let it happen. When they slaughtered Congress, we didn't wake up. When they blamed terrorists and suspended the Constitution, we didn't wake up then either. They said it would be temporary. Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it.
It is a 5-alarm fire for democracy in the United States of America. Donald Trump, who's trying to light a torch on democracy, continue to try to rig the election. His agenda is failing. His presidency is failing. He knows the headwinds in a midterm. Now he's dialing up for seats. He called Greg Abbott, who doesn't have the courage, doesn't have the conscience, and he has rolled over and he said, yes, sir, and. So we have got to step up. We tried to play by a higher set of standards and rules with our independent redistricting, and we believe in that. We are talking about emergency measures to respond to what's happening in Texas, and we will nullify what happens in Texas. We will pick up 5 seats with the consent of the people, and that's the difference between the approach we're taking and the approach they're taking. There are no rules for Donald Trump, and this is a serious moment in American history. And so we are here to meet this moment head on. We will not be complicit.
Well, it is Friday and another edition of Let It Be Known, and more chaos around the country, Niele.
For sure. Peace and love, everybody, and welcome to Let It Be Known. We're going to cover it from D.C. to Texas to California. Everybody is starting to stand up to the Trump Klan administration. Plus, we have some more headlines, and we're going to talk about a special day that's happening here in Southern California. Stacey, yesterday, LA, the mayor, the governor, they weren't playing. They weren't playing with Trump.
Well, and then you had to know that he would pull something. You know, Gavin Newsom has been under his skin, and you had to know that he was going to try and strike back.
For sure. So for those of you who don't know, yesterday afternoon, Gavin Newsom had a press conference at the Japanese American National Museum to announce that we will have a special election here in California in November to put 5 seats on our redistricting map to counter what Trump and his clan are doing in Texas. And Donald Trump decided to send 100 federal agents to the museum as an intimidation factor. And you saw right there, Mayor Karen Bass was pissed about it. And Governor Newsom is basically showing us, Stacey, I truly believe that he's ready for the smoke and he wants to be the next president of the United States.
Yeah, the only question is, we're still 3 years away. Can he does he have the stamina? Can he continue it for 3 years?
For sure. Well, most presidential candidacies pretty much start 2 years before they start traveling the country. We saw him doing that last month. And we are in unprecedented times. And so we can't wait for a traditional style election campaign. This has to be a reaction to all of this mayhem that this current administration is inflicting. And nobody besides, I would say, Jasmine Crockett, and then you have the lawmaker from New Jersey who is still facing federal charges. But nobody besides Jasmine Crockett really has stood up and stepped up to the moment the way Gavin Newsom is beginning to fill the gap. And I think what he's doing is energizing a party that looked like was non-existent, and I'm talking about the DNC.
Yeah, and you think about, and we're gonna be talking soon to Texas Rep Ron Reynolds. He'll join us this morning in a little while. But you think about even DC. So we all know that, again, not only do we have a very dangerous president who never tells the truth about anything, including why he took over DC. We know that the numbers belie what he has said. And then, when you make statements, public statements, especially nowadays, they are canned and they're ready to be used against you, just like your Miranda rights. And Trump just 2 months ago was recorded saying how DC has done a great job with crime. He was on tape. He was on video. And we know that DC's crime has reached lows that it hadn't seen in years. Now, they're also targeting homeless. Why are they targeting homeless? Now, here's some numbers to chew on with the DC homeless population. DC is one of only 6 places in the United States where homelessness has decreased since 2019. And get this, not only DC, but its neighbor, Maryland, as well as Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Mississippi, and Wyoming have posted reductions, while most of the nation saw increases. And since 2015, homelessness in D.C. has dropped more than 20% compared to nearly 40% jump nationwide. So you have to realize, again, what's driving Trump when it comes to D.C.? Well, Black residents make up 41% of DC's population, but 82.5% of DC's of their homes, I should say. White residents are 39.6% of the population, only 6% of those without shelter. 60%
For sure.
of the homeless population is male, and mostly Black. There is really the bottom line, Niele.
Well, there's a statistic. That's a statistic that sticks all across the country when we look at 13% of African Americans in this country, but the homeless rate is double that when you look at African Americans. But not only is the homeless crisis coming down, it's coming down here in LA too, but also crime. And so, you mentioned, why is he attacking the homeless? Because they are the most vulnerable. They are the ones that have the most to lose and don't have the infrastructure or the family structure to speak up for them. You know what I'm saying? And so he's attacking the most vulnerable, which is horrific. And I think just with the energizing of what the Texas lawmakers have started, and how other states, Governor Newsom is at the forefront, but you also have New York, you also have Chicago, you have these State of the People. They went live last night, and so I think that the people are becoming energized. And we had this conversation yesterday about we'll know when it's time. And I think that time is inching closer and closer as Gavin Newsom is really stirring the pot. I mean, he's doing a Donald Trump. Last night, he tweeted at 10:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, in all caps, Donald is finished. He is no longer hot. Now, if he's not talking and stirring Donald Trump, and let's not forget that Donald Trump is meeting with Putin today. And I bet you he's going to be distracted because the only thing he's going to have is Governor Gavin Newsom on his mind.
Yeah, and those pictures and videos that you're seeing are from the DC unhoused camps. And understand this too, that there are working people. This is Donald Trump's America. And to be fair, it didn't start under Donald Trump, but there are a lot of people who work every day and who does not have a home to go to.
For sure.
And so all of that energy, You see the big caterpillar things that they are using to take down these homes. All of that costs more than it would cost to give them affordable housing.
It's inhumane. And our mayor Karen Bass here in LA has been working. She ran on a platform of solving the homeless crisis here in LA, and she definitely wants that to be a part of her legacy. But what she was also doing was creating a model to have for a national, push to end the unhoused crisis. Homelessness is down. But you couldn't really hear those messages because the Trump administration came in and kind of just took over with all of this ICE stuff. But homelessness is down, and the model that she's doing to put people in housing was a model that DC could have used. So once again, with Donald Trump, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Did you notice that sign in that video that the young lady had, one of the unhoused individuals had? It said, homelessness
Homelessness.
is not a crime.
It's not.
And there it is, right? Being homeless is not a crime. Sex trafficking, release Epstein files. This is a gentleman. I said young lady, but look at that sign. 100%.
For sure.
And we're
So
criminalizing these folks. Dr. Joni, I'm sorry, Neil. Dr. Joni says only weak people attack the vulnerable.
yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing. When we look at from what he's doing in DC, what ICE is doing on a national level, he's attacking the least of these. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He's attacking the have-nots.
Yep.
And so this right here is just another sign of how the people are saying, I don't like what you're doing. It's time for me to lace up my shoes. We're going to talk a little bit later in the show about some call to actions that are happening this weekend all across the country, and how you should be careful because the Trump Klan administration is definitely gearing up to respond to the resistance of the people.
Yeah, and this Stephanie Humphrey says to attack the unhoused is another level of inhumanity. But we also it's kind of segueing just a little bit here. We also see what's happening in Texas. We know that former President Barack Obama addressed the Texas delegation that left Texas to break the quorum. And one of the things that the former president said, and I quote, "We can't let and I think, do we have a video or should I just read it?"
Actions because of your courage. What you've seen is California responding, other states looking at what they can do to offset this mid-decade gerrymandering that is highly irregular and is not what we should be doing to balance out the maps for this upcoming election. Because of your actions, because of your courage, what you've seen is
Yeah, he says, I want you all to be returning feeling invigorated and know that you have helped to lead what is going to be a long struggle. It's not going to be resolved right away, and it's going to require ultimately the American people understanding the stakes and realizing that we cannot take our freedoms and our democracy for granted. You've helped set the tone for that, and I'm grateful for it. That was a Zoom call between the former president and the Texas delegation. Now we're hearing that the Texas delegation is, for lack of a better term, surrendering. They're going back, and they're going to give the Republicans their quorum. I don't know if it's true, but let's bring on Texas Rep. Ron Reynolds to address that situation. Ron, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Hey, Stacey, it's great to be back. Good morning. It's so great to see you and your amazing co-host there. I was enjoying listening to the comments that you had about the homeless crisis. It's so important that we do everything we can to protect the unhoused.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely. So, Representative Reynolds, we are hearing that the delegation, for the most part, is feeling like your job is done, that you're going to go back and that the quorum, you're going to give the GOP the quorum, and they'll be able to go ahead and carry out their pretty much their racist business?
Well, let me address that. And I'm so happy to be able to talk about this. And I'm glad you played the clip from my forever president, Barack Obama, that we had yesterday with him. That was so reinvigorating to hear his comments. And he took questions, and he gave us a lot of time, along with former Attorney General Eric Holder. So when my colleagues and I, and just for the record, I'm the vice chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus. When we decided that we were going to make good trouble and break quorum, we had a goal in mind, and that was to stop the racial gerrymandering that President Trump initiated when he told Governor Abbott that he needed 5 Republican seats. And so we knew that we didn't have the numbers to stop it on the floor. So what we wanted to do was to be able to do what we could to stop it, so that we had time to get other states like California, New York, that you mentioned, to get them engaged in the fight. We also had huddled up with our lawyers, and they gave us some kind of a timeline that would give us a sweet spot so that they could be able to have time to file a injunction to stop the maps from being implemented, to put a stay while the case is pending in litigation. And so we were working in coordination with our lawyers. We were working in coordination with Leader Hakeem Jeffries and other national folks, including Eric Holder, quite frankly. So we killed the special session. It ends today. And Governor Abbott will call another one. Governor Abbott, unfortunately, as he's been on record saying, he will call special session after special session after special session. Each special session lasts 30 days. So when we killed the first special session, the other thing we wanted to do was get the other states involved. California announced yesterday, per Governor Newsom, that they had a map of their own that nullified the 5 gains that Republicans would get from Texas. So they had 5 Democrat seats. So it's a wash. So, Stacey, yes, the Democrats have said under those conditions, we would return, knowing that our lawyers now would be able to have the timeline to file their necessary paperwork, and then 2, continuing to engage in other advocacy efforts to get New York, to get Illinois, which we've had great conversations with Governor Pritzker, to get Maryland, to get New Mexico. We are really going on the offense. And quite frankly, one of the things that we know that we've done is shown the country and other Democrats that you have to fight, even despite the odds, when you know you don't have the numbers. So we have we've changed the narrative. We've shown that you can have a fight even if you're in a minority. And other states, quite frankly, are saying, hey, we can do the same thing. We met with Indiana legislators while we were here. We're talking to other people to do the same thing. So we cannot indefinitely stop this, because Governor Abbott could simply move the primary back, and he could simply call special sessions all the way through January or February. And members would have to literally be out away from the state for 6 months to potentially stop this. When
Representative Reynolds, we did have, including your colleague Jolanda, saying that she was prepared to stay through March. There are some that saying they were prepared to stay. So you're going to have folks saying, "What happened?"
Well, so I want to answer that. There are 4 members short of a quorum, meaning that right now they need 100. They're at 96 right now because some other Democrats never broke quorum. Mm-hmm. So you got 96 members on the floor. I can tell you with certainty, see, if we didn't have 4 that were willing to go back, I would hold out as well. But that's not the case. We have 4. We have more than 4 that will certainly return. Once those 4 return, the quorum break is over. So right. Representative Jones can stay out all she wants to, or I could, all I want to, but it would just me being absent from the floor, fighting, putting things on the record for the litigation. I have a duty to be there if there's a quorum. I'm not going to make the quorum. But once a quorum is made, I have a duty to be on the floor to push and fight and build a strong record that the lawyers can use for the litigation. So I understand Representative Jones' position. I understand the position of people saying, hey, y'all should just stay out. I can't argue with that. But so I don't know if people know that the legislators, basically, we have our session from January through May, where we make $600 a month. People aren't able to work. They're not able to be, they're away from their spouses, their kids. Many of them are caretakers for a sick relative or something. So we have a lot of people making sacrifices. It's hard for us to keep people together for 6 months. That's unrealistic. So yes, we do have to continue to stay engaged, but we know for a fact, in fact, I'm one of the 13 that Governor Abbott and Attorney General Paxton have filed a petition for the Supreme Court to vacate my position because I helped lead the quorum break, and they're saying I have surrendered my job. I'm not coming back. I went balls to the walls all the way to the mat, was one of the first people saying we need to break quorum. But there comes a time where you have to have a strategic strategy, and with coordination with our lawyers, we believe that this is the right strategy. Once California starts their special session on Monday, they're going to pass their maps. It's going to get on the petition for November.
Right.
What else can we do? It's just not realistic.
I want to jump in here because I think you dropped a few gems. I want to say to you, congratulations, because what you guys have done have recharged a base. You have amplified a message on a national level, and you've shown people that you can make impact, even if it doesn't go the way you want it to go. You have made a difference. You brought up the meeting that you had last night. And also, too, this is a relay. It's not, it wasn't just a sprint. Okay.
That's correct. That part.
What you guys did was you started the race, and now you're passing the baton. California has picked it up. You know what I'm saying? You've talked to Indiana. We know that it's going to happen in Indiana. We know that J.D. Vance went there to talk. So what you guys have done is setting a precedent for us to continue this race. You talked about Eric Holder, and of course that call was brought about by the National Redistricting Committee.
That's correct.
We know that Eric Holder has been on the forefront of this since him and Obama left the White House.
That's correct.
He saw this happening. He knew this was coming. So I would be interested to know, what was he saying on that call? And what is the National Redistricting Committee doing to support the work that you all are doing?
First of all, I love the framing that you said, that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we had the first leg and we're handing the baton. I really believe that. That's the way that I see this, in terms of strategically. A General Holder had a very great conversation. These have been ongoing conversations, by the way, that we've had with the National Redistricting Committee. And I'm so happy that you talked about, this was a vision of him and President Obama that has been widespread, and they are doing the great work. So General Holder believes that this is the right strategy so that we can then move this fight to the court. If this is filed too late, the courts will say, oh, it's too close to the election for the injunction to get injunctive relief. Our goal is to get injunctive relief to stop these maps from being implemented. And so there's a sweet spot that the lawyers have that they need to get this case in court. If we held out for a longer period, then it could be deemed too close and the courts was punted until after the election. So they would run. We're trying to get this stopped so they don't run on these maps. That's the first thing. The second thing, if we waited, then California doesn't trigger unless the Texas map is passed. So basically, you have two things that are working at the same time. California is only acting on Texas pass if a map is passed in Texas. If a map is not passed in Texas, then clearly or delayed past the November ballot referendum, then California doesn't do it until the next time. So it's a real tight zone that we're operating in, and we're playing chess. We ain't playing checkers. We are checkmating, and we're doing things strategically based on coordination with people like Eric Holder and the National Redistricting Commission, NAACP Lawyers Defense Fund. I was on yesterday with State President Gary Bledsoe, who is one of the renowned civil rights attorneys in the country, and the national president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, and the chairman of the board with leader Hakeem Jeffries. They're all in coordination with this strategy. So I'm the biggest one, like, man, y'all go balls to the walls. You fight, and you never give up. We're not giving up, by the way. We are not quitting. We're being strategic in the way that we maneuver, and we're pivoting and continuing the fight in a different way. We're going to stay engaged. We're going to continue to be speaking truth to power and doing everything we can, because one of the frustrations I had is that Democrats weren't fighting. Democrats, I would be screaming at the TV like, get a damn backbone. Y'all need to.
You've been on this show screaming the same thing too. So
yeah, I have, Stacey. But it's frustrating to me when other people are playing armchair quarterback and they're like, y'all are quitting, y'all throwing in the towel. And we're like, no, this is the strategy. If we don't do this, then we're really operating from a deficit, because there is a small window. Like we knew that when we started, if we didn't do it and give the lawyers the handoff between mid-August to September, it would likely be too late. That's based on the experts that have been fighting these fights for decades. So that is what we're doing. And we're also continuing to amplify that we have to fight. We have to take this fight to the authoritarian bully, President Trump, who wants to be a king, who's a coward, who basically none of these Republicans stand up to him. But problematically, even more for me, the Democrats weren't standing up to him. And so Senator Booker has rejuvenated people with his filibuster. And now we're seeing Democrats starting to push back some. We still need Democrats pushing back more in order for people to realize that Democrats are standing up and not being ran over. So we're trying to galvanize a movement. This is our civil rights moment. Our forefathers, they made good trouble in a different way. They risked it all, y'all. They knew. They took sit-ins, bus rides. They risked billy clubs and German shepherds and fire hoses. And so we're doing our part to make the good trouble that we need to protect our democracy.
So Representative Reynolds, someone pointed this out, and I want your response to this because I think it's very important. Someone pointed out that, okay, so California, what Gavin Newsom is doing there is amazing, but you can't necessarily, and I don't know if this is true or not, you can't necessarily go state to state and say, okay, they're going to take 5 seats from Texas, we're gonna take 5 seats from California, they're going to take 5 from Illinois, or not Illinois, but Ohio, we're going to take 5 from New York. They say, you based on that, Democrats still come out losing. What's your math in that?
Based on what I got from Leader Jeffries, that information isn't accurate. They believe that if this thing played out and went tit for tat all the way, the Democrats would come out in a net positive. But sadly, we're even having this discussion because this is a mid-decade redistricting. Let's not keep our eyes off the real problem. President Trump has unfavorable policies. He knows he can't take that to the electorate in the midterms because and to hold on to power. So he's trying to rig the system by a mid-decade redistricting without new data. This is unprecedented. This doesn't happen until every decade after a census. So we need to keep our eye on not allowing President Trump to escape responsibility. Most of these states like California, New York, they have independent redistricting commissions, which is the way it should go. So you take out the partisanship. This is a racial gerrymander. And I'm hoping that others, if President Trump wants to play this, the two can play that game, and other blue states will say, you know what, we're going to go tit for tat. You want to do it and you want to do it in Indiana, we're going to do it in Maryland. So yes, Stacey, that the solution, unfortunately, with this authoritarian fascist president is that other blue states have to respond in kind and go tit for tat, toe to toe, and say, okay, you taking away 2 over here, we're going to take 2 over there.
Right.
That is the only way that we can level the playing field.
Right. I mean, because it's not just the gerrymandering. We're also talking about the Supreme Court is ruling on
Yes.
getting more of the Voting Rights Act. And then you have all of these different states that are making these laws to disenfranchise voters, like you can't have water in line, you
Yep.
can't pass out snacks. And so it's not just the gerrymandering. And so it's like, we're constantly reacting to this Trump Klan administration. And so this is just one component of it. So we can't get caught up. But if we don't do nothing, then what's the recourse?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Doing nothing is not a solution. Right.
Right. I want to get your thoughts on Gavin Newsom the past couple of days. I mean, he has definitely stepped up his social game.
Yes. Yes.
I want to get your thoughts on how he's approaching this this attack, this social attack on Donald Trump. And do you think it's effective?
I do think it's effective. I think you're right. He's going to be discombobulated when he's meeting with his other dictator friend, Putin. Gavin Newsom really got the best of him. He can't stand people speaking up to him and using his tactics, the tactics that he uses on social media to shape the narrative. Governor Newsom, to his credit, is all over it. I mean, he is using social media the way it needs to be to get the message out there. We have to stop being on the defense. He's taking on the offensive, putting Trump on the defense, putting his policies on defense, putting him under a microscope so regular folk that aren't paying attention, that use social media, TikTok and other platforms, are now saying, wow, this is what's happening, because they're not watching MSNBC and CNN. They're not tuned in and reading their newspaper. They're looking at podcasts and social media. So I think it's brilliant. I think he is obviously auditioning for his presidential run in 2026. I'm not saying he's the top contender, but he's certainly in the mix. And others are going to have to step up their game to go and raise to the level that he's raising the bar in his attacks on President Trump. And I think that we should take a note in a playbook from what Governor Newsom is doing and duplicate that. That was one of the great things about President Obama. He used social media like it hadn't been used. And he really changed the game and galvanized and brought in young people that weren't really following politics. And he got them, they wanted to be a part of the change, right? They wanted to be a part of the movement. And I think that Governor Newsom, to his credit, is doing similar tactics. I think he's obviously channeled in a great social media presence and using folks that understand messaging. And that's one of the weaknesses of Democrats. We sucked at messaging the last time, right? We were on, I'm just
That's the understatement of the decade.
Presently too.
Yeah, we did. We sucked. And now I've been saying for the longest time, Democrats need to get our elevator speeches together. You can't give a whole encyclopedia. You lose people. You got to give it to them simple and digestive ways where they can regurgitate it.
But you know what you also got to do, Rep Reynolds?
Yeah.
Stop with the when they go low.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, listen, and sometimes you got to you got to make the earthworm feel like it's on top of the Empire State Building.
I remember we were having a similar dialogue a while back. Stacey and Greer chimed in. Y'all gotta stop bringing. In other words, I'm paraphrasing. Y'all gotta stop bringing knives to gunfights. Y'all gotta. You know what I mean? And hey, and I was like, well, now, hey, I see it now, Greer. You were right. We can't
Hey,
keep
don't
doing
give Greer the
that.
credit. Don't
Michelle
give Greer the
Obama,
credit.
I'm sorry, but that ain't working no more. Right?
No.
We got the remix version now, and we gotta put that and bury that, because this is a different day. We gotta go all in. You gotta adjust to the rules of engagement, right? This is the art of war. We can't keep bringing knives to gunfight. So Trump has changed the rules. If you're in the middle of a track meet and all of a sudden they start at the 50-yard line, it's a 100-meter race. I don't care how fast you are, you're gonna likely lose, right? So that is what's happening. Trump is changing the rules to scheme, to cheat, and win by any means necessary. And Democrats can't keep being the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and we're just following the rules. We can't do that. That is immoral. and we getting our, you know what, kicked.
Yeah.
So y'all are right, and that's what we've tried to do with this quorum break, and reigniting the fire behind other folks to do the same thing.
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned Hakeem Jeffries earlier, and let me just be blunt about this. I want you to chime in and tell me how wrong people like me are, or tell me how right people
Okay.
like me are. Hakeem Jeffries, to a lot of people, and I've agreed with this assessment of him, that he has been absent. He has been ineffective in this moment we're talking about. I mean, I'm not talking about during Biden's presidency. I'm talking about in this moment. He's been ineffective. He's been absent. He's been weak. And some have said perhaps he's just been bought and paid for. If you want to defend Hakeem Jeffries, Rep. Reynolds, go ahead and do it. If you want to jump in, please do jump in on that bandwagon. You let us know.
You know, Stacey, I believe in being real, man. Keeping it 100, as they say. I had my frustrations with Leader Jeffries early in this administration, this Trump second term, because I didn't see the fire. I didn't see the fight. I had not only criticisms of him, but to be fair, Chuck Schumer as well,
Yes,
who is
he's
the
not
minority leader.
Yeah.
Of
I mean,
the
he's not.
Democrats.
He's not immune to this.
I
either.
still have those same concerns about Leader Schumer. However, I have seen Leader Jeffries step up, and I know it was because other people, criticism from the Breakfast Club, from Charlemagne the God, from many people. I mean, countless people, including myself, were like, "Hey, brother, you got to step it up. This ain't no, passive kind of, time. This time calls for bold, unapologetic leadership. Man, you got to step into it, man, and lean in." I've seen a transformation. I've seen him move the needle where he understands that he has to meet the moment. So while I do think the early criticisms were valid, I do think that many of the activists and the criticism and people like Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman AOC, Senator Bernie Sanders, when they were sounding the alarms and they were having large rallies, and then you had this movement with these No King rallies and this movement across the country with large, massive movements of people that were saying, Democrats, where the hell are you? Indivisible and other organizations were sparking that fire. I think Leader Jeffries said, okay, I need to pivot. And I've seen him through his own transformation now leading with that sense of urgency. So I do think that the early assessment was more accurate, but I have seen a change, and I've been very proud of him moving the needle and fighting and taking the fight to Trump. He started with his own filibuster on the floor of the big ugly bill. He has taken his rhetoric more stronger with his platform, because he's really the leader right now of the Democrats, because we don't have a president. I mean, we have a DNC, but the leader really effectively is Hakeem Jeffries. Schumer is not, he's afraid to speak out. Like, he didn't never say anything about the Gaza stuff. That's where a lot of people were criticizing Leader Jeffries and Schumer's, that they wouldn't talk about it, right? They wouldn't talk about controversial things because they thought that their donors may be,
there you go.
and other organizations. But I'm telling you, Stacey, yes, I think that he has got the message, and he now is meeting the moment. Now, maybe he's not pleasing everybody, but that a leader never can. But I do think that he's raised the bar than he started out in this second Trump.
But it still remains the case with Schumer.
I think he needs to be replaced, and I will take the criticism. I've always been one who is willing to be transparent. When I saw President Biden wasn't up to a second term and taking the fight to Trump, I was one of the first people nationally to say he needs to step aside.
Yeah, we had you on.
You remember that? I took a lot of criticism, but you got to be able to tell the truth, right? He should have did it much earlier to give more runway, or to even have a real primary. So yes, it's important that we have these real conversations. And even if when you have your own side, I'm not one of those people to say, oh, just because they're a Democrat, I can't criticize them. I want to win. And to win, sometimes you can't mask things. You got to call it out. Leader Schumer has not met the moment. And I think most American people, you see the Democrat polling numbers, they were in the toilet because
Right.
people were saying, y'all ain't fighting, y'all ain't about nothing. Why should I care if you don't act like you care? You ain't doing nothing. So that is one of the things that I think that we've started to move the needle and build some excitement, because excitement means that people want to vote. If you have low voter enthusiasm, then guess what? They staying at home. They're gonna sit
Right.
on their behind. So we got to get people out to vote by saying we give them a reason to vote. And I think that Leader Jeffries is now starting to move the needle.
Wow. We want to thank you so much for starting the race.
Yes, thank you.
And passing the baton,
Yes,
and energizing America. You
yes.
know, energizing those who oppose this Trump Klan administration and all his followers, the January Sixers, and all of them. We'd love to have you back to keep us updated
Thank you.
on what's happening. Today is Nipsey Hustle Day, so in the words of Nipsey, may the marathon continue.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Anytime y'all want me back, I'm gonna come back, and thank y'all for having me. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. It makes a difference, and I love the Black press. Thank y'all.
Peace and
Thanks,
love.
Representative
Peace
Reynolds.
and love. Stacey, as I know you have some good news about Prince, but before we get to that, I think we should stay on this topic, because as we finish that conversation with Rep. Reynolds, it's important for everybody to know that Fight the Trump takeover events are being organized nationwide against the Trump administration to push back against his Texas redistricting attempt. Now, nearly 50 events will take place across 20 states nationwide tomorrow. That's Saturday, August 16th. And the main rally will take place outside of the Texas state capitol in Austin. Now, this is in response to the push in Texas and California about how they are moving forward with plans to hold special elections in November to redraw maps. Stacey, but I think I want to add this next story, because this is what we have to pay attention to, because how all these rallies are going on. The Pentagon is preparing a deployment of additional U.S. National Guard troops in more cities. And we know what those cities are, because Trump told us. We're talking about Black cities, Maryland, Baltimore, L.A., Chicago, all of the Black cities. Now, this comes just days after President Donald Trump deployed the troops in D.C. Now, according to the Washington Post, the Trump administration is evaluating plans to create a domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force that would be deployed, an additional crackdown on cities in events of unrest and protests. And we have 50 protests happening tomorrow and counting. And so if you're going out to protest, just be peaceful, do not engage with them. But exercise your First Amendment right.
Folks, also, it's important to carry your state or government issued ID, state or your license. If you don't have a driver's license, your passport. The way that they're doing things now, they are if it's ICE involved, whether you are a citizen or not, certainly if you look like us, it matters. So they snatch you up. You are no longer entitled to those phone calls. You're no longer entitled to that quick appearance in court. If it's a federal, they can hold you for 30 days without you contacting a lawyer or anybody now, and they can put you wherever they want. And that includes Alligator Alcatraz. They can send you to Sudan. Take your IDs with you. I'm not leaving home without. It's like that American Express card commercial. Don't leave home without it.
Right.
You know,
right.
I have a younger daughter who doesn't have a driver's license yet. So where we go, we take a passport.
That's right. Because Stacey, they'll say you from Kenya or Ghana.
That's right. That's right.
No ID.
Right.
You'd be like, get it here.
Yeah. Next thing you know, I'll be on that, on that plane to Sudan or somewhere.
Right.
Because or Rwanda, because there's 3 African nations that made deals with this psycho to take, people. So there you have it. So take your idea.
We talked about all of this, but as Black folks living in this second Trump 2.0, we decide when we want to engage and protest, and we decide when we want to have a little fun. So let's talk about some fun stuff, Stacey. You can kick it off with your guy.
Well, this fall, the world premiere in Minneapolis of the stage musical Purple Rain will star an up-and-coming musician songwriter named Chris Collins, who is from Washington, D.C., and he will play the main role that Prince played, the Kid, made famous, of course, in 1984. Collins is casting in Purple Rain, as well as that of Juliet's star Rachel Webb as Apollonia, was announced yesterday by producer Aaron Wolf. Purple Rain will play at the State Theater in Minneapolis from October 16th through November 16th. And a Broadway timeline is coming after that. It has not yet been disclosed, but Purple Rain is on its way to the stage, and they got a young guy who's playing the role that Prince played. A lot of people believe that Purple Rain was Prince's autobiography. It was not. It was very, very loosely based on his life, but a lot of that was not. But still, it is really interesting that they are bringing Purple Rain back on stage.
Yeah, that should be cool. The legacy of the Purple Rain Man continues, and I'm sure a lot of Prince fans will flock. It's in New York, right?
What? No,
Are you gonna go?
they're starting it in Minneapolis,
Are you
where it
gonna go?
belongs. I'll probably go. Yeah, absolutely. Once it gets to Broadway, yes, absolutely. I'll probably go. This young kid from DC who's playing the role that Prince played, he seems like he's very promising, very talented. You can follow him on TikTok. Chris Collins, Chris Collins is his.
Oh, you know it's TikTok. You already followed
Yeah,
him, huh?
yeah. I called him yesterday. I wanted him to come on today, but he said he was going to be doing press later on. They don't want him to do press right now. Otherwise, he's going to come on. So yes, indeed. You know,
Okay,
I
I'm
gave him a call.
forward to
I had to
that.
check him out. You know, I got to make sure that if you're going to play Prince, you need my approval.
All right, all right, all right. So we will be waiting for Stacey to book the man playing Prince, or the symbol.
There you go.
You know,
There you
symbol
go.
Prince. You know, we'll be on the lookout. News about BET: the new CEO of Paramount, David Ellison, is assuring reporters and Black folks at a recent press conference that the BET network will stay within the confines of the company after Paramount floated the idea of selling it a few years back. Now, the statement comes within a week of the network revealing that two of the shows that are important to Black culture, I'm talking about the BET Hip Hop Awards and the Soul Train Music Awards, have been indefinitely suspended. Now, if you recall, Paramount recently merged with Skydance Media in an $8.4 billion deal that has allowed Donald Trump to basically take over that network. And you know, Stacey, what I didn't know is that Skydance is really the son of the owner of Oracle.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
And he's a billionaire.
Yep.
Well, but which makes this kind of scary to me is that Oracle owns the biggest AI company in the world. Okay. So they're putting out all this information. The father is very close with Donald Trump. So, I mean, this sounds like to me the new Fox Media. When Rupert Murdoch started Fox News and that whole evolution. And that's pretty much how Trump became president, because Fox News became his machine. And now he has a new toy, and it's called Paramount and CBS. And I'm afraid for Gayle King now. Now I understand.
Well, he's targeting her.
Shots fired. Yeah. She got it.
Yeah, he's targeting Gayle King now. He feels like, you know, he got them to get rid of Colbert, and so Gayle King is now next on his list. So
yeah, and his name is Larry Ellison, and I would tell you guys to do a deep dive on that guy, because I think he's a lot more scarier than Rupert Murdoch, because he has his hands in a lot of stuff that is within the government, contracts that have been awarded to his company. He's at the forefront of AI, and Donald Trump is definitely using CBS as one of his propaganda tools. And so we'll see how long BET survives. And remember, I told you guys, we'll see how long the NAACP survives, because they have a huge deal with CBS and Paramount that gets their programming on BET, that gets the NAACP Image Awards that airs on BET and CBS, and they have that soap opera on CBS, Beyond the Gates. And so it will be definitely interested to see how that plays out. And so finally, let's talk about what to watch So the Netflix comedy series She the People is back, but they changed the name, Stacey, to Miss Governor following that lawsuit. Remember, the She the People
Yes.
nonprofit sued Tyler Perry and Terry Vaughn, and so Tyler Perry just said, "Forget it. We just gonna call it Miss Governor." So
Yeah,
we just gonna
yeah.
squash that.
That's a very simple fix.
That was a very simple fix. And so the second installment of Miss Governor started yesterday. I watched the first 2 episodes. It is just as hilarious as the first 8 episodes. So I definitely encourage you to
I
go
haven't
and
seen
watch
it. Yeah, and I like Terry Vaughn. I love some Terry Vaughn, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so she plays the lieutenant governor, and the governor, which is a white, you could say he's MAGA. He mimics Donald Trump. Even how he
Oh.
talks to her. He
Mhm.
tells her never outshine the master. Now that is a
Okay.
rule from the 48 Laws of Power. However, when you say never outshine the master, and a white Mississippi man tells that to a black woman, you're not thinking of 48 Laws of Power.
Mm.
So I mean, it's really good. It's really cute. How she builds her team, her chief of staff. It is so good. So I encourage you, if you're looking for something to binge watch, you can watch that. And then of course, the last episode of one of the most important series to women. I'm talking about Sex in the City, and just like that is over. Last episode of the series premieres today. It's out and available, so you can go watch that too.
Oh, okay. Speaking of watching stuff, I don't know how I know RNG follows Dawn. Few of you guys follow Dawn, but Dawn has been binging The Wire. And apparently she had never watched The Wire before. And she's losing her mind. She's given this running commentary on social media constantly about The Wire. Now she's apparently up to the part where Stringer Bell is killed, and she's losing her mind. And she even posted this morning that she's going to have to cancel a few meetings so she can finish watching the whole season 3 or wherever she's at. And I'm like, Dawn, go to work. Leave The Wire alone. Oh boy. When he dies, that's the end of the show. When he dies, and so Dawn says he dies. She posted, and I'm like, I said, listen, somebody was bound to give away the plot because you keep posting about it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, she's been watching The Wire, so. Anyway,
I tried to jump into that, but I just couldn't.
I couldn't get into The Wire.
I couldn't get into The Wire. I've watched the first episode at least 4 times, and the
first episode 4 times, and you couldn't go past
because
it?
A lot of times when I watch a show, it might take me 4 times to start it before I really get into it, because I'm always doing something else.
Oh, okay.
And so I've given it like 3 to 4 tries, and I just can never get past the first episode. But that doesn't mean that, because it took me a while to get into The Chi. But once I got into The Chi, I am so hooked on that show. It is just so deliciously good and a great representation of what that Chicago lifestyle is all about. So maybe one of these days I'll get back into it.
Greer says she's watched The Wire series 5 times. I was going to say,
wow.
When you said 4 times on the first episode, I was going to say Greer probably watched the whole thing 4 times, but she said
that's
5
how
times.
I am with Sex in the City. I can start Sex in the City from the beginning and just watch it all the way through. Same thing with The Cosby Show and A Different World. I could just Girlfriend, same thing. Yeah.
Dr. Joni says she loved The Wire. She said, I think it was one of Obama's favorite TV shows on his list last year or 1 year. Interesting. All right, folks, before we get out of here, we're going to give you a Black History fact. On this date in 1887, Eatonville, Florida became the nation's first incorporated Black municipality, founded and governed entirely by African Americans, most of them formerly enslaved. Today, this historic town still stands proud of its heritage, but facing economic challenges with no gas station, supermarket, or pharmacy, and just one Family Dollar. Yet it thrives culturally through landmarks like the Zora Neale Hurston National Museum of Fine Arts. And Zora Neale Hurston was actually born and raised there. The Mosley House Museum and the historic Eatonville District. Festivals like the annual Zora Festival and community events keeps its legacy alive, while small local eateries and vendors carry forward the spirit of self-determination that built Eatonville in the first place. Eatonville sits just a few miles from Orlando, Florida. So it's still all Black. So check out Eatonville. If you're down that area, hey, go by and spend a little money there. Help a little bit.
I love that. I love that. And today is Nip Day. So today we remember the life and legacy of Nipsey Hussle, who was born on August 15th. He would have been 40 this year. Now, to celebrate his contributions to hip hop culture and the Los Angeles city that he uplifted, the city will temporarily rename the Hyde Park Metro Station on Crenshaw and Slauson to the Nipsey Hussle Station from August 15th today through Sunday, August 31st. And they've also issued 2 special tap cards for a limited time that feature Nipsey Hussle. And so I'm pretty sure, I remember when Nip died, being at the Sentinel, and how we we just went all out. It was just such a time. If you didn't even like Nipsey Hussle or didn't know who he was, when he died, the entire city knew who Nipsey Hussle was. And I remember taking LA Sentinels to weed shops and dropping them all across LA City to make sure everybody got their commemorative paper. So we had LA Sentinel had papers all in the smoke shops.
That's a shame. Mr. Bakewell will stop at nothing.
But today is Nip Day, so turn them up, play them, and celebrate hip hop.
All right, that's a good one. Well, thanks so much, Neil. Have a great weekend. I know that Greer is about to abandon us for a little bit too, so you guys have a good weekend yourselves.
Yeah, I think we should let them know. I think we need to let them know, Stacey.
Let it be known.
Let it be known that we're having the best of next week.
The best of, that means probably the worst of me. So that should be a lot of fun. Mike V should enjoy that.
Never that.
He should absolutely enjoy that. He says I should be deported back to Queens.
No,
Mike V said that. He said I should be deported back to Queens.
No.
We got to go, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you. Have a great weekend.